and also good morning.
Morning, Mr. Novak. How are you? We're
Really good, really good.
morning minutes with Michael Burns and Mark
Yeah.
Novak. How are we? Action.
Oh, that's so gimmicky. I love it. That is so gimmicky. I love it. Where are you gone? So this morning, the conversation is what the heck is equity?
Yes.
So equity, sleeping on your money, equity. It's what smart people do not do, and that's sleep on their money. Smart people always have their money working for them. While they're sleeping, their money is working for them.
Well, equity, morning, Andrew. Well, equity would probably be one of the biggest reasons people buy property. Let's face it, like that's probably the strongest motivator, besides putting a roof over your head, is equity and what the smart savvy people do with equity. So let me just bring up here. Where's bring up? So
Equity
equity.
is the biggest fundamental contributor to the Australian society's wealth.
Correct. And the
So
definition of equity is the difference between the market value of your home and the amount you owe the lender who holds the mortgage. Your equity is the money you'd receive after paying off your mortgage if you were to sell your home.
nice.
So,
Okay,
thank you, Google.
can we have that? Can we have that one more time for the dummies?
Yep. Equity is the difference between the value of your home and the amount you owe the lender who holds the mortgage. Your equity is the money you would receive after paying off the mortgage if you were to sell your home. I'm going to put that definition in the chat for everybody. All right, Mark, go for it. What can we do with equity?
Okay, so what's a real shit? What's a bad thing to do with equity? What's equity abuse?
Okay.
What is a bad thing to do that you'd say, dude, that's just such a stupid thing to do with your equity? Why are you doing that? So as a real estate agent, what do we see people do that would go, no, no good?
Nothing. So perfect example. You've done, let's go Narrowena with price. Just Narrowena. You bought a home in Narrowena, let's say 15 years ago. You've done really well. You saved a deposit. You bought 15 years ago, so probably about $500,000. And
you bought it because you had some little children. The children were 1 or 2 years of age. The children are now sort of 13, 14, 15. You got 2 children, and you got a house in Narrowena that you bought for how much?
Yep. Let's say good morning, Glenn. Good morning, Amal. Good morning,
hey guys.
The other Glenn as well. So, so now the children are older.
You've continued, how old? 13, 14,
and 15.
Yep. And that property was bought for how much?
500,000.
And it's worth how much?
1.5.
Wow.
Well, only wow if you do something with it.
So that's the good news.
That's the good news.
And if you did the bad thing with that equity, so how much equity do we have now because of that rise?
Let's say they've paid off half of the mortgage. Most mortgages are 30 years. They've had it for 15. Let's say they only owe 250,000 from the initial $500,000. Let's say they borrowed it off, just for this example. So they owe 250 of a $500,000 purchase, but it's now worth 1.5. How much equity do they have, Mark?
1.25 million in equity.
Wow, and that's almost.
Now,
yep.
That's an average home in the Northern Beaches. An average person.
And that's not. Let's not say these guys have won the lottery. That's just base. That's anyone and everyone who's bought 15 years ago. You haven't done anything. Northern Beaches, most properties have doubled and doubled more, or doubled every 10 years. So that is a realistic case. I reckon there's a lot. I'd love to know the stats because it almost makes me cringe when I've heard that someone bought a property 15 years and it's like, well, how many properties have you used? How many properties have you bought using that equity? And when they say none, and it's like, shit, they either only owe 250 grand or they've paid it all off. I think that's the worst thing that can be done with equity. Don't you reckon, Mark?
Yep. You use a suburb of Narrowena, which is renowned to have Italian people in it.
Yes.
Now, Italian people, and you are Italian.
Yes.
Italian people have very good habits with their equity.
Yes.
Generally.
Well, I reckon there's two. There's the Italians who just pay it off, and it's you got to have no debt on it. Debt's like you can't have debt. That's sort of a lot of the older school thinking. No debt. If you can't buy it all in cash, you don't buy it. And then there's the other group who will leverage and continually to buy property, playing the long game. They will take out good debt as long as it's for property. So I reckon there's a mixed bag. There's a lot of families we know where they've paid off their family home and that's all they've got, and which is great, but it could be doing more for you because a lot of people are only earning 50, 100 grand a year plodding along. Like in that example of that family who bought for $500,000, they've got their super away, which is they're earning a combined income of 100 grand. That's 10 grand a year. But if they use that equity to buy an investment property, then we could see that grow a lot further. And what would you suggest? How could you use it, Mark?
Can I give an example to everyone out there? And I'm happy for everyone, if they've got any questions, comments, just to throw them out live while we're watching.
Yep.
Can I give an example? How many babies do you want to have? How many properties do you want to have? So if you want to have 3 babies and you want to space it out to have a baby every 2 years, there's an efficiency to that.
Yep.
If you want to have 3 babies and you want to space them out every 15 years, you may not get there.
Yep.
So if you can actually parallel, and this goes back to using your equity, you've got one life, you've got one chance, you've got a working career that's probably going to span 30 to 45 years. You can actually do it all up front. You can do it all at the end. You can splay it through the middle. You can just have one and be happy with that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean there's no one's judging you. That's your life. That's your world. But as real estate agents, we see people do all different examples of what they use their equity for. And we encourage people to space the kids out every 2 or 3 years and have 2, 3, 4 kids if you have the ability. Doesn't mean you won the war or lost the war, whatever. Yeah. It's just a recommendation of what we see people do. And I joke about the Italians, they're very good in investing in property. They're very good at spacing the kids out in terms of buying their properties. Every 5 years or 7 years, they will buy something their whole working career. They will amass 5 or 6 properties. When they get to 65, 70 years of age, they're fairly comfortable.
Yeah, and I think so with this, we need to work backwards. So let's run off if someone started this 20 years ago, then, okay, if you bought 3, 4 properties, then what it'll be worth now and what it would mean to you for your retirement and super. I think someone who didn't do it would want to do it. I think it's all good.
Your suit looks really nice today, Michael. Your suit looks really nice.
Really stands out.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
I think we always say you should, but we don't give the benefit of what it could mean and the freedom it could mean in 20, 30 years with property prices in Northern Beaches doubling. Sometimes
let's continue Mr. and Mrs. Narrowena 15 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
So Mr. and Mrs. Narrowena 15 years ago, they still had this nice size mortgage. Their property had made a little bit of equity. So it had gone from 500 to 750, maybe say 850. Okay. Then they turned around and said, you know what? We can buy little Johnny's growing up. Little Natalie's growing up. They're 5 years of age. We are pushing ourselves, but we can push ourselves. Let's buy a 1-bedroom unit in DY. So they buy a 1-bedroom unit in DY. They would have bought that back in the days. This is after owning Narrowena for 5 years. They would have bought that for probably
100 grand.
How much?
10 years, 100 grand, 10 years ago, or one better?
Nah, would have been
No.
probably 3. Well, I got that little one, and you remember that one that time I did in Wayne Street? So probably
Yep.
300 grand.
Okay, 300K.
Probably
So 15,
300.
I'm just creating a life timeline here. 15 years, they bought a house for 500. 10 years
Yep.
ago, they bought a one better for 300.
Yep. And then 5 years again, like, when I said spacing your children out,
Yep.
let's space the property purchasing out. Now, the one better, there would have been a little bit of debt. They would have been knocking off their debt in Narowena. They would have taken on a new debt. It probably would have washed itself with those interest rates. They were a bit higher back then. So that would have been sort of not quite paying itself off the one better, but almost.
Yep.
Then 5 years later, which is 5 years ago, they bought a two better
Yep.
in DY. So the two better in DY, they bought Mr. and Mrs. Narowena. They bought a two better in DY, and they would have bought that for how much?
What, 600?
Yeah, well, actually no, we just got off selling them for probably 455.
Oh, yeah. Okay, two better. 500K. Yep.
Jordan bought that too, but I remember. So
Oh, yeah.
let's
Yep.
go.
Yep.
All right, so let's say 500.
Yep. And then
Okay.
let's say today.
There would have been not a bad one back then for that money. So that would have been probably more like 800 now.
Mm-hmm. So
Nice coffee.
we're going to, thank you. So are we going to do another property purchase today, or do you just want to go off those 3 examples?
I think we go off the benefits from 15 years ago, Mr. and Mrs. Just in Westwood's car park.
Yeah, it's going crazy, selling all the shop owners.
Yeah. It's little Johnny in his fruit truck. So they bought 3 properties.
Yep.
15
all
years
using
ago,
the same deposit 15 years ago. Just using equity to roll over.
Good point.
Not really.
Really good
This
point.
is all from the same deposit. Now, we're saying
Really
the
good
past
point.
15, but at the end of the day, this is what people are going to do moving forward. Okay.
And they did use the same stamp. They've got the stamp duty out of their equity as well.
Correct. Okay.
So this was no physical cash in after the initial purchase. It was just equity paying for the deposit and equity paying for the stamp duty.
Equity and time. Okay, so Mark, that house 15 years ago is now worth 1.5 mil.
Yes.
So let's add up the initial purchases. 500,000 plus 300, 800 plus the 502 better is 1.2 million.
But they eroded they eroded 250 debt on the initial purchase on the
Correct,
Narowena house. Take that off.
Yeah. So in property prices at the initial, okay. Now 1.5 mil is what the Narowena house is worth. The one better bought 10 years ago, what, 500, 600?
I reckon I'd probably get 6 for it now. Yeah, it would have been a good one. 650.
600K.
650, I reckon.
Well, just using round numbers, 650, okay. And then the two better bought 5 years ago.
800.
Let's say 850 to round it up. So then you've got 1.5 plus 650 is 2.15. So 1.5, 650, and then 850.
You probably wouldn't be able to sleep with this much, having this many babies, having 3 babies so close together. Anyone who just tuned in, I've used equity and a house in someone buying a house in Narowena and not buying anything else. They sleeping on their equity.
Yep.
And then we're using another example where they've actually bought shit every 5 years along the way. We're doing that exercise now. That's what Michael's doing, plugging into the calculator.
Yeah.
And then what I'm also doing is I gave a real life example where I called equity and I called purchasing property having a baby. So I said if you want to have 3 babies and span them out 15 years between, that's 45 years of bringing up kids. Or you can have 3 kids and span them out having 2 years or 5 years in between each child. So it's easier. So that's you don't want to not buy, you don't want to pay a property off then buy another one. You sort of want to do them. You want to overlap them a little bit.
Yeah. So looking at that, that'll be $3 million with
Whoa.
property value today. $3
Whoa,
million.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Wow.
Whoa,
Retirementville.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Retirementville.
whoa, whoa.
And probably your debt on that, and your debt on that would probably be about 850,000. So on that first part, so you're up. You're
Okay,
rich.
But can I say something to some people? They're going to get debt and they're going to shit themselves when they hear 850. But
Okay.
250 is your debt that you're sleeping on. That's the debt that's hard to pay off.
Correct, your house.
550 is investment debt that is paying itself off because you've got 2 rental incomes paying it off.
Yep.
So suddenly 550 of your debt is paying itself off. You've still only got 250 debt that you're paying off.
Correct.
Really?
Now,
So your net cash position, the income you have to earn to pay for that pussycat, is not far off what it would have been if you didn't buy those other 2.
Yeah, and that's crazy to look at going, all right, if you did nothing, you have a home worth 1.5, you owe 250,000, or you actively buy, which obviously takes time away from working, and you got to do due diligence and spend a bit of money here. Don't get me wrong, it's you don't have to. You've got to invest into that. But the difference between your net position, if you do nothing, is 1.25 million. Your net position doing something is about $2.1 million. So in 15 years, you've made an extra $1 million. So $1 million over 10 years, you've earned an extra $125,000 a year cash equity/cash compared to working an extra 2 jobs.
Now, beautiful people, this is only assuming 15 years. Can you imagine blowing it out for 30 years?
Yeah.
Whoa, that is huge. So do not sleep on your equity.
Money.
Don't sleep on
we've
your
got some
money.
questions here, Mark. We've got, gents, what will a 1.5 property be worth 15 years from now? If we use
double.
Double. And the reason is not because we just like property being double. You got to remember, population's growing, population's growing in tourism, and we're having minimal supply. As much as people go, no, it can't double, it's already ridiculous. You got to remember what's driving the prices to double in most areas. DY's population, yes, it's gone up, say 50% in 5 years, but that's because our population has.
Who gives a shit? It's just done it for 50 years. I don't know why. I don't care. It's just like everyone's so analytical, looking for it's like the Da Vinci Code. I haven't worked it out. I don't know why properties double every 10 years, but I'm just happy to go with it. I'm no professor.
Go with the flow. Don't overthink
just, I don't know whether it's climatically a great place to live, as in we don't have volcanoes and we don't have earthquakes and we don't have floods in Sydney. We're not cold like Melbourne. We're not hot like, I don't know. But it just does that. And I'm just going off what it's done. And I believe it'll do the same thing. And if I speak to old people, and as I love speaking to old people, they will all agree.
Yeah. Okay, Luke said equity is liquid gold. Take it while you have access to it. That's good. Can you imagine if they ever stopped you? That's one thing. You would agree, Mark. It's probably pretty easy to access your equity these days, and you could, maybe one day that could change.
That's what the girls at school used to call me, liquid gold.
Andrew says, what happens at the 20-year mark when they get divorced? Well, let's run that example. Andrew,
hey,
so
I'd rather be splitting something than nothing. At least they've got more to split. It's more of a reason to not sleep on your money just in case.
Exactly. Andrew, if they split that 250, that means they've only got 600 grand. They split the 3 million, they're still better off.
Yep.
So, and I can sell a house.
Hey, we got more properties to sell for the. We got more properties to sell.
It's better for the economy. Not encouraging divorce, but the reality is,
Andrew, you got to move. You got a unit to move into because you bought that with your equity along the way.
Yes. Okay. Plus, Andrew also says the plus is they both have more equity than before the strategy. Sound? Yep. Support my mantra. Do nothing and nothing happens. Do something and something happens. Amen. And then Glenn says, moving to DY. Awesome.
You know what? One of the Tom Panos' quotes was, "If you don't take the shot, you're definitely not going to. You're not going to hit it.
100%. So I
If
think
you
the
don't
importance.
hit it, if you don't take the shot, you're 100% going to miss."
Yeah. All right, Mark. Let's say people watching this, the thousands of people watching this, have gone, "Shit, that's me. I bought a home in Narrowena 15 years ago. I haven't done
Yes.
anything with it." First question:
Yes.
Is it too late to do something with it?
Well, it depends when you're going to die.
Okay, they're 40 years old. Remember this young family with 2 kids, 13. They're 40
Well,
years old.
if you're 80,
Stable
then,
jobs.
look, I think you're probably pushing it. If you're 20,
Yeah.
30, 40, if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, and even 60, I think you're good. I think you're good.
Okay.
You know,
So the answer
there's
is
no-
you're still good to do something. How do you do it? Do they call us? Do they call a broker? Do they walk down to their bank? What do they do first?
Well, first of all, if you know anyone in this position that you're trying to encourage or you want to encourage, please tag them, forward this to them, or share it on your own post. But for yourself individually, you got people that are watching. They're part of our a little community that we got going, which is these morning minutes. These guys are tight. We owe you. You help us with your support. We got to help you. Just call us. You know, and just say, hey, and just run the numbers with us. We will put you in contact. We will say, look, you got no chance in hell, or you're a victim of sleeping on your money. We're going to put you in contact with a mortgage broker so you can have a free chat on the phone.
Yes.
See if you are in a position to do something, and then off you go from there.
The first point, call us. We'll be able to help you. Even if you're in area, out of area, just give us a call. We can sort of give you a good understanding straight away. We've got access to RP data. So if you said to us, we bought in Borkham Hills 15 years ago, and we can run the numbers of the estimated value, or we've got someone like Amal who can help. So anyway, we can help. So, and then put in the right direction. I find a lot of people, they either spend a lot of time not knowing who to call and going around in circles, rather than just making the call. We can say yes or no. That's the big thing as well. A lot of people,
And Northern Beaches, Sydney, Australia, for anyone who doesn't know, yes, it's had tremendous capital growth. Yes, it has good rental returns. But just to support something very recent, out of anywhere in Australia, the region where we work has just achieved the largest number of hits on the internet for property searches on our biggest portal in the country, realestate.com.au. I'll say it again. Realestate.com.au has reported the region of the Northern Beaches to be the highest viewed district in all of Australia. And I think purely that's because of our show, Michael.
I agree. And considering we're doing half our sales on realestate.com, imagine on Facebook, imagine if we used all the portals.
My God.
Crazy.
My God.
Margaret says I've contacted you to call. Thanks, Margaret. See you soon. Happy to chat with anyone. Anytime. We do it every morning.
We do every morning. Clip in, guys.
Man.
7:45. Mark Kentwell, how are you? You legend. Hype, how are you? Steve, how are you? Kier.
Alrighty, Mark. We're gonna bring it out.
Kira Lee. Okay. We're done?
We're done. That's a tape. Thank you, guys.
Say bye. Buy commercial property as well, residential, anything, something, everywhere. Get it, buy it, done.